Hello and welcome back to the UCLA Bruins Insider Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Ferguson, writer for UCLA on SI. Today we're going to be talking about UCLA's next matchup against Indiana in Pauley Pavilion. This game is going to be a good one. Indiana is coming off a win against Purdue. UCLA is now on a 3-game win streak entering this matchup. So this game is going to be very competitive. But before we get started, I want to thank everyone who's tuned in right now listening. It means a lot to me, and I honestly cannot thank you enough. Without further ado, let's kind of get started right into it. So what is UCLA's, path to victory here? Indiana is a good team. We know this, but still UCLA is entering this game as I believe a 3.5 favorite. And according to ESPN Analytics, they have a 60.6% chance of taking this one. But there are a lot of things that the Bruins need to kind of clean up on. We kind of talked about in their game recap against, I believe it was, who did they play last? Sorry, Oregon. We kind of saw some things that UCLA kind of struggled with. I thought as a team, defensively, they did great. However, the offense at times kind of staled out. Because of those offensive inefficiencies, the Bruins made that game a lot closer than it should have been. And when I mean that, I know they won by 16, but that game should have been over a lot sooner than it was. But UCLA's offense kind of needs to get going in this one. And they also need to continue to play that brand of defense they're playing. Hopefully we get Sky Clark. Again, nothing's confirmed. Hamstring injuries are hard. So hopefully he's back. If he's not back, the Bruins will be having to play Trent Perry, Donovan Dent for 35 plus minutes again. That will make 8 games in a row where they played that. Again, not sustainable. They need Clark back. Eric Freeney, he didn't see much minutes. I wanted to see him get more minutes, but he didn't. But kind of looking at this game, matchup wise, the Hoosiers are averaging 80.7 points per game, and their defense has also been decent, not that good still. 69.3 per game. They're shooting 47 from the field goal. Rebounding, they have the UCLA beat. They have a 34.7 per game compared to UCLA's 32.3. But when you look at this matchup, the thing that really is going to help UCLA here, it's going to be the steals. The Hoosiers are only averaging 5.5 compared to UCLA 6.7. But outside of that, UCLA does not really have an advantage statistically. But that kind of is going to wrap us on to our next kind of topic. Who are some UCLA players who need to step up and make an impact in this one? Starting off, I think Tyler Bilodeau. Obviously, he's going to have a good game. We hope he does. But he's going to be the kind of game changer UCLA will need in this one. The team's leading scorer with 18.2 points per game. If he can get red hot in this one, UCLA should be fine. I know on the other side, the Hoosiers have some players who can kind of match that. We'll get into them a little bit later. But still, when you kind of look at what Bilodeau's done this season, he had a great game against, Gonzaga, Arizona, a lot of these notable teams against Purdue. He even had a great game. Those are some notable teams that UCLA needed Bilodeau to kind of rise to the occasion. And I know Indiana might not be on the level of those other teams, but still, they pose a very scary threat. Like I said, they're 14-7. They had a really tough, stretch. I mean, they played Nebraska, Michigan State, Michigan. That's a tough stretch for any team. UCLA is going to go through that soon, and they already have, I believe, 6 losses on the season. So Indiana is a good team. Just if they had a different stretch of teams, it could be differently. But still, that's what I'm kind of getting at. Tyler Bilodeau needs to be that guy for UCLA who's going to give them a chance in the scoring department, because we've seen how, the guards, for example, have kind of, flattened off when it comes to their offensive performance. Trent Perry's not playing the best right now, and neither is Dent, besides the Purdue game. Next, Eric Daly Jr. He's been on a heater in the rebounding section, and I think this one was kind of a given for Booker. Not Booker, Daly. Now he's averaging 6.0 rebounds per game. He's had 7+ in his last 3. The rebounding number is going to be very important in this one, because we know it's going to be a close game. And if Indiana is able to take advantage of, those second chance points, the Bruins might be in some trouble here. That goes without kind of being said, obviously, but still, that is something UCLA had struggled with. They did good against Oregon. I believe it was like 19-2, something like that, when it came to second chance points. Good game for UCLA, but yet again, Oregon was missing some of the rebounders. Indiana is not. So if Daly's able to get at least 7 plus, add in a little bit of scoring too, 15, 16 points, somewhere in that range, I think UCLA has a really good shot at kind of taking or, winning this game outright. The next person, Xavier Booker. Again, kind of off of what Daly's done. I think Booker has been great at rebounding. He had 6 last game against Oregon. I think the game before that against Northwestern, he had 8. He only played 19 minutes against Oregon, and that was just kind of matchup concerns. I know Oregon was running, I think they had 3 guards on the court at a time to kind of give them that, shooting ability, that speed in the transition game. But still, I think Booker is going to play a massive role in this one. I know Indiana is kind of that smaller team that's faster, but still, what Booker did against Oregon was amazing. He completely cut off any points in the paint from when he was in, and when he wasn't, we saw how Oregon wanted to take advantage of that. Kwame Evans Jr. was able to kind of go up against Jamerson and make him kind of look bad. There were a few defensive breakdowns on that end. We also saw that when he would get matchup against Trent Perry. Obviously, that is a mismatch. Excuse me. But still, if Booker's able to kind of limit the paint and force Indiana to play outside in the perimeter, their UCLA is going to be in great shape. There's no doubt about it. Indiana is a very good team when it kind of comes to that stuff. I believe on the season they are, they're shooting 35.9, not the best number, but still they got some really good shooters. Nick Dorn, he's shooting 45% from the 3-point line. So again, UCLA is going to need to kind of protect that. It's going to be a hard game, but they cannot let the points in the paint add up because they are going to hit threes. It's either one or the other for UCLA, and I think if Booker's able to kind of shut things down on the perimeter, you can rely on Trent Perry and Donovan Dent for the most part to kind of make it hard for those players to kind of get into their rhythm shooting the 3 ball. So those are 3 players I really believe that UCLA is going to need kind of when it comes to slowing or winning this game, obviously. Bilodeau, good points. Daly's got to keep his rebounding going. Maybe hit a few more shots than he's usually supposed to. Same thing with Booker. He's going to have to rebound and, be that imposing threat, down low in the paint. But over on the Indiana Hoosier side, we have Lamar Wilkerson, who's averaging 19.4 points per game. That is a stat line you don't want to mess with. Against Purdue, he had 19. Against Rutgers, he had 27. He had a rough game against Michigan with 8. But again, coming into that game as, the Hoosiers' best player, obviously he's going to get a lot more attention, especially against good teams. But when I look at what, Wilkerson can do, he can shoot the 3 really good. He had a rough game against Purdue, 2 for 9, but against Rutgers, he really turned it on. 5 for 11. He shot 45% that game. From the field, he was 11 for 17. He shot 64.7%. UCLA cannot afford to have a game where Wilkerson feels comfortable with his shot. We can't see him, get hot, really. And if that means doubling him, UCLA has been good at kind of establishing that trap, with that zone defense they run a lot. So that's going to be the emphasis for UCLA. If he, has under 15 points, he's going to be good. Obviously, that's kind of what the mark Nick Martinelli has. So UCLA is kind of used to dynamic scorers. So again, they just got to play Wilkerson just like they did against Nick Martinelli of Northwestern, and they should have a good game here. Moving on, the rebounding is going to get tricky. So Tucker DeVries, the forward, 6'7", he's had a pretty good season as a whole. 14.3 points, 5.2 rebounds, leads the team, shooting 39.9, so pretty much 40% from the field in this one. He's going to be a really interesting player in this one. I feel like Bilodeau is going to be able to kind of handle him well. Bilodeau, O'Daly. You might even see some against, Booker. But anyways, the rebounding cannot be a factor in this one. He's not the best rebounder. He has had back-to-back games with 10 rebounds. So that's something that UCLA does need to slow down. But as the whole season's kind of progressed, he's kind of been inconsistent. And honestly, he is due for a low game rebounding. And UCLA has shown to be a better rebounding team, especially in this win streak. But yeah, if they could slow his rebounding down, I think the Bruins have a really good shot at kind of turning the tide in this one. It's going to be a close game, so the rebounds are going to come through. And if they can limit him, I think the Bruins have a really good shot at taking this one. But just to kind of wrap everything together, we know what UCLA needs to do to win this game. We need those three players to get hot. I'll say them again. Bilodeau, Eric Daly Jr., and Xavier Booker. They need to play what they do good very well in this game, or it could get ugly. On Indiana's side, they need to slow down Wilkerson, 19.4 points per game player. That's going to be hard. Tucker DeBreves, 10 rebounds, is averaging 10 rebounds in his last 2 games. That needs to stop. We need to see Daly kind of take over in that regard. Match his rebounds. UCLA will win that game. But for this game, kind of taking everything into account, I know I made a prediction podcast a few days ago, kind of going down UCLA stretch. Indiana was a team in that one. But kind of now that Indiana has been able to go over Purdue, UCLA was able to recently pick up a win against Oregon in a very good way. I think that line is going to kind of shift. The sports books have them, again, a 3.5 point favorite. ESPN 60.6% chance of UCLA taking this one. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the Bruins are going to be able to win this game by 7 points. We'll call it 73 to 66. I think that's a pretty good number for UCLA. I think their defense plays good in this one because they know they have to. As like I said, Mick Cronin spoke in the Oregon team. He was asked if the injuries kind of being involved in this one was going to play a mental toll on UCLA's effort, which it didn't. But Indiana is a team kind of on the other side of that where they are a good team. So this team is going to play with a lot more effort. Regardless, right? Mick Cronin doesn't need to say it out loud. That Indiana is a good team that UCLA knows they need to play their best basketball against. And I know they're not ranked or anything like that, but still, they are a proven threat. They just took down Purdue in a really convincing fashion. Absolutely, they could have blown them out if it wasn't for a late, resuscitation from the Boilermakers. So UCLA does need to kind of get things going in a hard way. And like I said, they got to do what they do best at a higher level. What they're doing now is probably not going to be enough, but I think this team has the momentum to kind of, push the needle when it comes to this one. So yeah, that's all I have today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I can't wait to see, what this game is going to look like. It's a game against two teams who really want the recognition that they deserve. So anyways, thank you so much. I'm your host, Andrew Ferguson, and like always, 4's up.